Are you a people pleaser trapped in a toxic faith? Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. The one who's always bending over backwards for others, biting your tongue, and swallowing your anger. Sound familiar? If so, you might be labeled as too nice. But what if I told you that this seemingly harmless trait could be slowly eating away at your well-being? Picture this. A person devoted to their children, their family, their job, their faith, and all driven by a desire to be virtuous, plagued with an unshakable feeling that something just isn't right. That was me, and I know so many others live like this, and it might be you too. I watched my loved ones, who were good people by any measure, devote themselves tirelessly to serving others and never realized the very beliefs they held so dear were the root of their pain. Enter Dr. Gabor Mate, whose groundbreaking research in his book, The Myth of Normal, Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture, sheds light on the dark side of blind self-sacrificing devotion as a mental trait and way of life.
It's a big book in terms of what it's taking on. So I want to start at the beginning. Explain to people, when you say the myth of normal, what do you mean? And then after that, we'll get into what a toxic culture is.
I mean, two things. We have this idea that what is normal is also healthy and natural. And I'm saying that in this culture, the norm is neither healthy nor is it natural. In fact, the norm, I think, is making us sick. Number one. Number two, we talk about illnesses and of body and mind as abnormalities. I'm saying that illness in this society, given the conditions, is a normal response to an abnormal circumstance. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by the myth of normal.
The shocking truth? Certain mental traits fostered by toxic Christianity can lead to illness and disease. You see, Christian doctrines can instill toxic core values that negatively impact our health. For example, teachings about original sin can foster self-loathing, which in turn can contribute to high blood pressure, depression, cancer, and autoimmune diseases like diabetes and rheumatoid arthritis. My family's experience with cancer and mental illness is a testament to this reality. As Dr. Mate explains, illness and diseases are processes. My family and I share traits promoted within Christianity, disconnecting us from our intuition and internal warning system. We coped with repressed anger and rage in a way that poisoned our systems. Much like the Buddhist saying about holding on to anger and expecting the other person to die. Our religious upbringing taught us to suppress anger and never show it, but we had no healthy outlet for it. I was fortunate to break free from these toxic patterns and discover powerful ancient practices that predate Christianity. Living with self-loathing beliefs can depress your immune system and lead to illness. Those with autoimmune diseases and cancer often share four main traits. Number one, they prioritize duty over their own needs and find it hard to say no. Number two, they struggle to ask for help. Number three, they consistently place others' emotional needs above their own. And number four, they suppress their anger. These traits can stem from childhood adaptations to fit into other people's expectations and be liked. They never wanted to offend anyone. However, as Dr. Mate's research shows, these coping mechanisms can lead to unhealthy adult relationships based on the denial of one's mental and emotional needs. In the church, these adaptations are often promoted as selflessness and righteousness. But living inauthentically and denying yourself can be a source of stress and illness. Dr. Mate reveals that chronic denial of your own needs can suppress your own immune system. Inauthenticity can get so bad that your own immune system doesn't recognize you and attacks you at a cellular and energetic level, as if your own cells were the enemy. That's what autoimmune diseases do to their host. What we need is a bridge from this toxic mentality to a healthier belief system that empowers us to live authentically and unapologetically. By unlearning toxic programming through the ancient Kemetic spiritual science, we can understand the true philosophy and metaphysical science behind the teachings that Christianity twisted and misunderstood. By studying these ancient teachings, we can fact-check Christianity and uncover the original philosophical and metaphysical system that predated it. This will allow us to form a healthier set of core beliefs, free from guilt or shame. Hi, my name is Reginald Martin, the founder of Kemetic-Centered Living. My mission is to empower those transitioning from Christianity to Kemetic spirituality, helping them to live life authentically, unapologetically, and on their terms, all without guilt or shame. Drawing from my personal journey to an authentic life after Christianity, I've had the privilege of mentoring over 80,000 people across my social media platforms, courses, and classes. With a focus on ancient Kemetic spiritual science, I provide the tools and knowledge to shed light on the rigid Christian doctrines that have held you back, caused self-doubt, and even illness. The most common feedback I receive? This knowledge has changed my life. So let me help you transform your life too and embrace the freedom that comes with living authentically after Christianity. How do I know this connection to living authentically and being healthy are true? Allow me to tell you more detail through my experience of my family history that is a microcosm of the macrocosm that Dr. Gabor Mate has so eloquently stated. Here's what his study and research findings confirm for me through my family history.
There's a deep need to belong, a deep need to be loyal, and a sense of betrayal when that loyalty is somehow insulted. If you didn't get the love that you needed, you'll be consumed by being liked, and then you'll be very likable and very nice. And you might become a helpful, very helping individual, which is a coping pattern. Now, you can be genuinely nice and genuinely supportive of others and still look after your own needs. That's human nature, I think. But a lot of people are very nice and likable and helpful by suppressing their own needs. That's a coping mechanism. Everybody says how nice they are. And when they die at age 50 of cancer, everybody shows up at their funeral and they weep about how nice they were, how selfless they were.
Many in my family can be described as really, really nice people. Cancer and mental illness has been a major factor in my extended family of grandparents, aunts, uncles, their spouses, and their children. Here's what I mean. On my mother's side of the family alone, my grandfather died of pancreatic cancer. I have 3 uncles and 1 aunt die from cancer. 3 of them from pancreatic cancer. Could that be a coincidence or an alarm for something they all shared? I had another uncle that dealt with drug addiction his entire life and died in his early 40s. My mother and her sister were diagnosed with depression and took medications from early stages in their lives. When my aunt recently died, she had 2 shoeboxes filled with prescription medication that she had taken over the years. Over 200 bottles of pills that did not work. Her son committed suicide as a complete shock to everyone in the family because on the outside, he was very successful and had all the material trappings of life. Me, I've dealt with bouts of depression. 2 times in my life, I've lost everything I had. Not because of depression, but because I'm an entrepreneur. I took risks in businesses that didn't pan out. But I've never had to take medications. I've never had therapy. And I don't say that to brag, it's to make this point. I said to let you know that I am intimately aware of the impact of toxic Christianity. If you met any one of my aunts and uncles, you would be immediately struck by how nice they were. They constantly put their needs of others before themselves. They were all chronic people pleasers. It's obvious to me that they all dealt with repressed anger and other emotions. They were not aware of it on a conscious level or I'm sure they would have dealt with it if they knew how. They obviously were not aware that the energy of anger didn't go away. It only changed forms. A pattern of bottling up toxic energy inside them was a ticking time bomb and poison that turned into malignancy that killed them. Just as Dr. Mate stated, at the funerals, everyone would say the same things about their selflessness and how they would give you the shirt off their backs. But I escaped what many might call a generational curse. In reality, it's a toxic cultural mindset that my family willingly but unwittingly adopted through religious beliefs. I did so as well until I was about 20 years old. This toxic mindset slowly killed blood brothers and sisters, which were my aunts and uncles. The common denominator that all of them had was that they were all staunch Christian believers, and all of them chronically put the needs of others above themselves. They were the epitome of people pleasers, and their religious beliefs set an expectation of a toxic mindset that sacrificing your own needs and suppressing your own authentic self was the righteous way of showing how virtuous and godly they were. Guilt and shame were mental tools used to make sure they disconnected their own inner compass and denounced self-care. I recently had my one living uncle try and use these tools of guilt and shame on me. I chose self-care. Sadly, he has recently been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. My cousin that committed suicide, who was about my same age, was a staunch Christian and people pleaser. We were as close as brothers when we were young, but we grew apart because I stopped calling myself a Christian and denounced the cultural beliefs when I went to college. I'm certain that by doing so, this saved my life. To this day, I still fight being a people pleaser because it's so ingrained in me from my childhood trauma and never feeling like I was accepted by my biological father. My mother had me at 16 years old out of wedlock. My parents never married. I developed the idea that if I was a good boy, I would be liked and possibly loved. How many of us men and women carry that traumatic wound? I wanted to please my people-pleasing mother, aunts, and uncles. Is that you? Do you still try and be liked at the expense of your authentic self? Based on the research of Dr. Mate, being too nice could be setting the stage for illness and death. I know this to be true in my family. I know what I'm saying here won't be popular because I've implicated my Christian religious upbringing. But I feel that it's necessary to bring forth and at least start people to thinking about the cost of being in a culture where living authentically becomes a transgression against God. You slowly kill yourself from the inside out. Now, mind you, toxic Christianity is not the only factor in this. However, it conditions the environment for the ticking time bomb to grow until it explodes. I want to make you aware that modern medical science is now showing that there is a mental and physical cost for living life inauthentically, self-sacrifice, and denial. Because I stepped out of the toxic religious culture, I've been healthy, in touch with my inner emotions, and learned that self-care is self-love. Even with my people-pleasing ways, I've learned to pay attention to my inner guidance, take care of me, and not feel guilty or ashamed of doing so. I live life unapologetically on my terms without guilt or shame because of the principles I learned through comedic science. You can too. Are you trapped in a cycle of guilt and self-sacrifice? Does it feel like you're constantly giving yourself away, even when it leaves you drained? Are you haunted by guilt every time you say no or prioritize your own needs? Maybe you stepped back from Christianity, but now you're left feeling lost and uncertain about where to turn, who to pray to, or what's next on your spiritual journey. If this resonates with you, trust me, you're not alone. I've been there, and so have many others. But there's hope. With Sacred Process Mastery, you can finally gain clarity and confidence as you navigate your life's path and fulfill your purpose. Embrace the freedom to live authentically, unapologetically, and according to your own rules, all without a shred of guilt or shame. Here are some of the top benefits of embracing sacred process mastery. Number 1, freedom from guilt. Feel confident and clear about prioritizing your own needs without guilt or fear of being selfish. Number 2, discover your true self. Develop a strong sense of self and identity, embracing who you really are. Number 3, find purpose and meaning. Experience a renewed sense of meaning and purpose in your life. Number 4, self-love and appreciation. Replace self-loathing and denial with new core values based on self-love and an appreciation for your unique qualities. Number 5, align your inner life. Develop skills that align your inner life with your actions and intentions, making it seem as if the world lines up in your favor like magic. Number 6, master spiritual science. Learn the science of spirituality through step-by-step processes that you can observe, experiment with, and repeat. Unlike Christianity's reliance on superstitious beliefs without knowledge. Picture a life transformed by sacred process mastery. Just imagine the exhilaration of confidently saying no when that's truly what you want. Visualize waking up each morning, bursting with excitement to embrace your day, knowing you've uncovered the passions that bring you joy and guide you towards your purpose. Can you feel the weight lifted as you let go of the fear of judgment from others and their opinions? This remarkable transformation begins with mastering the simple yet powerful skills of sacred process mastery. By learning these techniques, you'll shift from merely surviving to thriving, living life intentionally and designing your own unique path. Embrace the freedom to create the life you've always dreamed of. That's the beauty of thriving with sacred process mastery. Are you ready to answer the burning question, who do I pray to now? In my upcoming video, I'll unveil a powerful process that will seamlessly connect your mind, body, and soul. I'll guide you step by step as you begin to implement sacred process mastery, replacing your old beliefs about prayer with an ancient paradigm that predates Christianity. This transformative approach will naturally help you stay true to yourself and maintain a strong connection with your own mind and intuition, something that may have been lost due to religious training. Together, we'll journey through each step, unlocking the secrets to thriving and achieving results faster than you ever thought possible. If living life on your terms and embracing your authentic self is your top priority, keep an eye out for the next video. You won't want to miss it.